Really? Wow, that's like so it's fascinating, really, all the mystery involved, in making art.
You're live now.
Okay. Welcome to the mystery. Welcome to the mystery. This is Bushwick Book Club, the holiday edition. You've made it. We're right here. Um, this is our final show of 2020, and we have chosen two works to celebrate: Truman Capote's A Christmas Memory and Dylan Thomas's A Child's Christmas in Wales. And most of you know this already, but for those of you who don't, we're Bushwick Book Club. So what we do is we pick a book, and then we pick a book, and then we we invite different artists, musicians, filmmakers, culinary creative people, and we all read the same book, and then we create a new work to share in the show. The authors are also invited; they give readings, and so that's what we do. And it's a bit unusual. I think it's unusual because we're presenting brand new stuff. Most of the songs I have not heard before. I don't know what people are going to do. It's just the first time being presented, the first time being played in front of an audience. So that's the weird thing that we do. And then this year comes around, and now all of a sudden everyone is having to deal with all kinds of firsts. And we're thinking, how do we put this? How do we keep doing this show? And so we jump on the Zoom wagon, and here we are doing this thing, but then with the freedom of not having a physical space, then we also get to do new things like meet up with these amazing authors who we haven't worked with before and get to read their work. And they are all here. They gave a video contributions, so we'll be viewing those later in the program. And we got to work with Tanya Marquardt, who wrote Stray. We got to feature that book in March. And Lewinson is here. She wrote Still Life with Meredith, and that was our May book. In the summer, we were so fortunate to read A Peculiar Peril. We gave ourselves like a couple months for that one, and by Jeff VanderMeer. And later in the summer, we got to work with Jesi Kelley, her father, William Melvin Kelley's book, Dancers on the Shore, his work of short stories. We featured that in August, and then our most recent show featured "The World Eats Here." "The World Eats Here" by Storm Garner and John Hwang, featuring stories and recipes from the Queen's Night Market. So it's been quite a year, and we're really happy that the authors, so generously gave us their contributions. And but right now, what we need to do is we need to share some songs about books, because that like feeling that you have, that like kind of like tension and anticipation in your chest, that's like a new song about a book that wants to be shared right now. um, and as I like to say in the beginning of the shows, these songs are brand new, first time being shared. They're fresh from the song hole. So I like to remind people to be extra generous, encouraging, inviting, warm, because the new songs are really, they're sensitives, and they feel a lot of things. And so if you're not extra generous with them, sometimes you just crawl back up the song hole. We do not want that. Please welcome our very first performer of our final show for 2020, Teresa Toro. Hand for Teresa.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been great.
Oh, fresh one. Steaming.
Very fresh, very fresh. And I read both books. They were so wonderfully short, and I ended up mashing them together. And so that's how they came out of the song hole. So, okay. I hold in my heart magic memories of Yule time. A coloring book, I can draw every scene. Paper and crayon bring to life my mind's design, while Christmas rolls down to the carol singing sea, and the snow grows overnight and builds up around the trees to the houses' high roof lines, and sparkles like the sea. It sparkles like the sea. I hold in my heart magic memories of Yuletime. Kites and Christmas colors dancing on our heads. Fruitcake expeditions under iridescent skies. There's never two of anything but two best friends. And the snow grows overnight and builds up around the trees to the houses' high roof lines and sparkles like the sea. It sparkles like the sea. I hold in my heart magic memories of you time. My true home lived in the heart of my best friend. When my own string breaks, I will fly and find your kite. And I'll meet you in the crystal Christmas sky again. I'll meet you in our crystal Christmas sky.
Woo!
Yes!
Happy New Year.
I loved it. That was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was such like a sweet and wistful combination Christmas song from both works. That's awesome. Okay, prepare yourself now for our next performer. Our next songwriter is also a poet. His name is John S. Hall. Please welcome John S. Hall.
Hello.
John!
Hi.
There he is. Excellent. I
Here
was
I
like,
am.
wrong glasses and hat. It was different. Okay. Yay, John S. Hall.
Hi. I also enjoyed reading both books. I read them both. I enjoyed them both. But then I was confused, and I thought maybe we had switched the plan from Dylan Thomas to Truman Capote. So I started writing a Dylan Thomas song, and I lost it. I don't even know where it is now. But then I wrote this song based on just I think a single page of the A Christmas Memory book by Truman Capote. I enjoyed the illustrations too. Anyway, this single page really does not reflect the holiday spirit of the story itself. I just liked this idea of the woman not wanting to go to the movies and having a buddy, having Truman Capote tell her the stories of the movies. So I wrote this little blues song, which maybe I'll think of a title for it when I'm done. It goes like this. I don't think I ought to go to the movie picture show. No, I don't believe I will go to the movie picture show. A person my age shouldn't squander their eyes when you tell me the story. I see it through your eyes. I don't believe I will go to the movie picture show. I will save my eyesight. I will stay right here. You go along to the movie. I will stay right here. I will save my eyesight. I will stay right here. When the Lord comes to see me, I will see him clear. You go to the movies. I will stay right here. I'll train hummingbirds to bounce on my finger while you're gone. I will train hummingbirds to balance on my finger while you're gone. I'll train hummingbirds to balance on my finger while you're gone. Maybe kill me a rattlesnake 16 rattles long. Train hummingbirds to balance on my finger while you're gone. No, no, I don't believe I will go to the movie picture show. I do not believe I get back, you can tell me all about it. I don't believe I will go to the movie picture show. It was a short song.
Woo!
Thank you. Thank you for asking me, Susan. Looking forward to hearing the rest of the show. And
Thank you, John. Thanks so much for that song. I loved how sweetly old-fashioned it was sounding. Feel right. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, well, I stole the chords from Taj Mahal, who can sound very old-fashioned himself. So, okay.
Way to be. Revealing all of his creative secrets.
Yes.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Speaking of creative secrets, what does this next guy do? How does he write his songs? I want to write a Don Rauf song. Do you have to be Don Rauf to write a Don Rauf song? Please welcome Don Rauf, zooming in all the way from Seattle.
Hello, hello, hello. Nice to have a little holiday hangover with you all. Great to see all the little faces. My big face. Host a spotlight.
Yay! Face.
I wrote a song on A Christmas Memory. Had nice little questions in the back, quizzing you on the whole book too, for students. Anyway, it was a great story. Every story about an older adult and a young person is always creepy. This one's great. It's a real love story, a real friendship between a young person and an old person, which is just something more unusual, I think. Can everyone hear me? I think I see yes. Okay, so I'll just sing the song. It's exactly a combination of Teresa and John's songs mashed together, I think. Oh, here we go into the woods, farther than we've been before. It's kind of like the ocean. The waves of pine thrill me to the core, and it must be handsome, and it can't be small. And next to a boy, it should be twice as tall. Lugging it like a kill, we commence on a trek so long. The tree's virile perfume, it revives us and goads us on, and we receive many offers, but we won't take a thing, not even $1. There's never two of anything. Oh, why are you so good to me? I'm only 7 and you're 63. Other relatives can be so cold and cutting, but you're my friend and I am your buddy. You're my friend and I am your buddy. Our reflections mingle in the rising moon. We dream of 30 fruitcakes that will be gone too soon. Just give me 2 inches of Ha-Ha's whiskey, and carefree as the wind will be in the chimney. Oh, here we go into the woods, farther than we've been before. It's kind of like the ocean. Waves of pine thrill me to the core, and it must be handsome, and it can't be small. And next to a boy, it should be twice as tall. Oh, why are you so good to me? You're only 7, I mean you're 63, I'm 7. My relatives are so cold and cutting, but you're my my friend, and I am your buddy. You're my friend, and I am your buddy.
Oh!
Ladies and gentlemen. Jim is next. I wanted to, give Jim a proper introduction, but here he is right now. Jim Andralis, you're looking at him. He is our next performer. Please welcome Jim Andralis.
And Dory, who's joined me on the...
Dory's there too.
She usually shut up. Okay. There she goes. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Bushwick Book Club. I just want to make sure. Yeah, she's not going to bark. I didn't read both books. I didn't even consider it. I'm a Capote queen, apparently, and that's what I stuck with. This book. Is that you, Susan?
I had to just, let you know that I was laughing. All right.
Thank you. Isn't Zoom weird? I think that I need to practice a song while I'm watching myself on my laptop. So that weirdness. Anyway, guys, it's Christmas. This story really sort of fucked me up in a way that I feel like resonated with something big inside of me. I read it years ago and I really remember loving it, but it just is like, and just hearing the details that everybody put in their song, I just think it's beautiful and complicated, and yeah. Okay. Things we'll do when we awake, what we'll buy with what we've saved, how we'll share all the things we're making, what gets taken. What we say when we're not talking, what we smell when we're out walking, the way I hold you when you're shaking, what gets taken. Only you know what I want for Christmas. Something good to watch us from above. Because I've learned there's never too of anything. I'm sure only we can know this love. Everything I dreamed of in a friend, everything I always knew would end. Not my name, but not mistaken. What got taken? What got taken? Ooh. Thanks.
Oh man, no, crazy. Ooh, ooh. Okay, you don't need to hear me oohing when you just heard the original Jim Andralis song with the ooh. Thank you very much, Jim, for that beautiful song. I need to, after that emotional moment, I need to remind people that if you want to support the show, we appreciate it. And you can donate to paypal.me/bushwickbookclub.com. And it just, supports the whole show. You can Venmo to at Bushwick Book Club. And we have our next performer here, and she created a short film for us. This is Stephanie Larriere in Brooklyn. Please welcome Stephanie Larriere, who
Thank you.
will probably, yay! I was like, who's probably going to do a live intro? She's going to do a live something, and I love it. I love a
Oh,
live.
thank you, Suzanne. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I loved the short story of a child Christmas in Wales from Dylan Thomas. I was really inspired by the story. It reminded me like all these images of like, when I read it and I heard it, I think from like himself, like talking over, and this beautiful recording of his voice, and it felt like a long traveling, like a kind of Visconti style, like of one image into the next, and it was very visual to me to listen to this short story, and I get back into my childhood myself, and I felt inspired to create my first pop-up book that I'm going to show you through a movie. And I'm ending up with like a character that I feel like is also very familiar to me these days, Mr. Prospero, who is like venting in front of a fire with his newspaper on his head and says, do something, just do something. So I don't know, I feel a little bit like Mr. Prospero these days, but thank you for inviting me, and that's it. Enjoy the movie. Thank you.
One Christmas was so much like the other in those years around the Seatown corner now, out of all sound except the distant speaking of the voices I sometimes hear a moment before sleep, that I can never remember whether it snowed for 6 days and 6 nights when I was 12, or whether it snowed for 12 days and 12 nights when I was 6. All the Christmases roll down towards the two-tongued sea like a cold and headlong moon bundling down the sky that was our street. And they stop at the rim of the ice-edged, fish-freezing waves, and I plunge my hands in the snow and bring out whatever I can find. In goes my hand into that wool-white, bell-tongued ball of holidays resting at the rim of the carol-singing sea. And out come Mrs. Prothero and the firemen. It was on the afternoon of the day of Christmas Eve, and I was in Mrs. Prothero's garden, waiting for cats with her son Jim. It was snowing. It was always snowing at Christmas. December, in my memory, as white as Lapland, although there were no reindeers. But there were cats. Patient, cold, and callous, our hands wrapped in socks, we waited to snowball the cats. Sleek and long as jaguars and horrible whiskered, spitting and snarling, they would slide and sidle over the white back garden walls, and the lynx-eyed hunters, Jim and I, fur-capped and moccasined trappers from Hudson Bay off Mumbles Road, would hurl our deadly snowballs at the green of their eyes. The wise cats never appeared. We were so still, Eskimo-footed Arctic marksmen in the muffling silence of the eternal snows, eternal ever since Wednesday, that we never heard Mrs. Prothero's first cry from her igloo at the bottom of the garden. Or if we heard it at all, it was to us like the far-off challenge of our enemy and prey, the neighbor's polar cat. But soon the voice grew louder. "Fire!" cried Mrs. Prothero, and she beat the dinner gong. And we ran down the garden with the snowballs in our arms towards the house, and smoke indeed was pouring out of the dining room, and the gong was bombulating, and Mrs. Prothero was announcing ruin like a town crier in Pompeii. This was better than all the cats in Wales standing on the wall in a row. We bounded into the house laden with snowballs and stopped at the open door of the smoke-filled room. Something was burning, all right. Perhaps it was Mr. Prothero, who always slept there after midday dinner with a newspaper over his face. But he was standing in the middle of the room saying, "A fine Christmas," and smacking at the smoke with a slipper. "Call the fire brigade," cried Mrs. Prothero as she beat the gong.
I just wanted to applaud that film. That was an incredible film. Goodness. And
Amazing, Jesus.
that is already on YouTube, that link. So we'll have to share that link so people can, take another look at that. But thank you, Stephanie. That was really beautiful. And so clever. Our next offering is it's an author reading. We couldn't get Truman Capote and Dylan Thomas here, in the flesh to read, but we have all of these great authors that we've worked with this year, and we have Storm Garner reading from A Christmas Memory.
Of the ingredients that go into our fruitcakes, whiskey is the most expensive as well as the hardest to obtain. State laws forbid its sale. But everybody knows you could buy a bottle from Mr. Ha Ha Jones. And the next day, having completed our more prosaic shopping, we set out for Mr. Ha Ha's business address, the sinful, to quote public opinion, fish fry and dancing cafe down by the river. We've been there before and on the same errand, but in previous years our dealings have been with Ha Ha's wife, an iodine dark Indian woman with brassy peroxide hair and a dead tired disposition. Actually, we've never laid eyes on her husband, though we've heard that he's an Indian too, a giant with razor scars across his cheeks. They call him Ha Ha because he's so gloomy, a man who never laughs. As we approach his cafe, a large log cabin festooned inside and out with chains of garish gay naked light bulbs, and standing by the river's muddy edge under the shade of river trees where moss drifts through the branches like gray mist. Our steps slow down. Even Queenie stops prancing and sticks close by. People have been murdered in Ha Ha's cafe, cut to pieces, hit on the head. There's a case coming up in court next month. Naturally, these goings-on happen at night when the colored lights cast crazy patterns and the Victrola wails. In the daytime, Ha Ha's is shabby and deserted. I knock at the door. Queenie barks. My friend calls. "Mrs. Ha Ha, ma'am? Anyone home?" Footsteps. The door opens. Our hearts overturn. It's Mr. Ha Ha Jones himself. And he is a giant. And he does have scars. And he does not smile. No, he glowers at us through Satan-tilted eyes and demands to know what you want with Ha Ha. For a moment, we're too paralyzed to tell. Presently, my friend half finds her voice, a whispery voice at best. "If you please, Mr. Ha Ha, we'd like a quart of your finest whiskey." His eyes tilt more. Do you believe it? Ha Ha is smiling, laughing too. Which one of you is a drinking man? It's for making fruitcakes, Mr. Ha Ha. Cooking. This sobers him. He frowns. That's no way to waste good whiskey. Nevertheless, he retreats into the shadowed cafe and seconds later appears carrying a bottle of daisy-yellowed, unlabeled liquor. He demonstrates its sparkle in the sunlight and says, $2. We pay him with nickels and dimes and pennies. Suddenly, jangling the coins in his hand like a fistful of dice, his face softens. Tell you what, he proposes, pouring the money back into her bead purse. Just send me one of them fruitcakes instead. Well, my friend remarks on her way home, there's a lovely man. We'll put an extra cup of raisins in his cake.
Thank you, Storm, for that reading. It's so cozy, right? Just like we were just by the fire with Storm in DC. Yeah, I felt that, right? It's real warm. Okay. So after that, who needs to do a show? We just need to get in our pajamas and just feel cozy and like everything's right with the world. But we have a show, and it's incredible because our next performer is Ray Brown. Please welcome Ray Brown. He's that way on 14th Street. Right. Yeah. All right, Ray, I'm so excited. I'm knocking stuff over.
Don't knock stuff over. This is the latest I've ever written a song, which I usually write it a long time before and then rehearse it and stuff. But I wrote this, what's today? Tuesday. I wrote this, I guess, Sunday and Monday. And I was talking to someone recently about my hatred of Christmas. I didn't say it strongly enough that, like, I don't know why. I don't hate Christmas. It's just Christmas makes me feel really bad, and Christmas music makes me feel really bad. It's sad, and like I feel assaulted by it. And Susan wrote to me and said, "What's your favorite Christmas song?" I think I didn't respond to her. I wrote this about the Truman Capote. Fallen nuts, unpainted houses. Once grand, now just standing. Buddy, can you spare a dime? Distant cousins, just like JJ and Bin Laden. Drinking buddies, the long way till dawn. And out in the country, sending love letters out to friends and strangers. Like these songs we sing, hoping for a connection and to let the future know. Sinful fish fries and dancing cafes. Sparky and carefree, it runs in the family. Magic tree in the forest where it grew. A buggy ride, I am old, too old now to. And out in the country, sending love letters out to friends and strangers. Like these songs we sing, hoping for a connection and to let the future know. Letters from home, read in bed. The cakes are baked, Queenie's dead. Flying kites in the Alabama sky is what I'd like to do on the day I die. And out in the country, sending love letters out to friends and strangers. Like these songs we sing, hoping for connection, hoping for connection, yeah, hoping for connection and to let the future know.
Ray, I just wanted to know, do you and Jim have a contest to see who can make me cry first or something? Okay, you guys, thanks so much. That was really beautiful. Our next performer is Henry Tenney in Brooklyn, and he's performing with Mark Rosso. And I just wanted to mention again, because I always forget, and I just, if you can support the show, it's paypal.me/Bushwick Book Club and Venmo @Bushwick Book Club. And I also wanted to bring some attention to some important people who are working behind the scenes right now. And Mark Weston is one of them, and he's our new Zoom coordinator right now, who's just jumped on board to help us out. So we really appreciate him doing this. He has a great interview series called Songsmith, and you'll want to check that out. Also, Teresa Toro is there. If you're wondering who that charming person is in the comment section, it's most likely Teresa. Well, it is. It's Teresa. So thank you, Teresa, for doing that, and for this show, and for all of our past shows, or many of them in this year. And also, I wanted to mention Scott MX Turner in New Orleans, who organizes Bushwick Book Club New Orleans, but also helps out with all of the graphic art, the amazing flyers and posters every single show. It's just like
Yay, Scott!
Yeah, and he does. He makes something amazing every time. I just want to mention those folks. And now, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? It's Henry Tenney time.
Woo, 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 woo.
Yay! With Mark Rosso.
Hi, welcome to my backyard with the lovely sounds of the Prospect Expressway tooling your ears. This Capote thing we used to read when I was a kid. My parents read it aloud to us, and I always loved the stuff about their capering. So that's where this song came. It's really kind of more of a ditty, I think, than a song. And it sounds very Christmassy, which I like. I'm still waiting for the Bushwick Book Club Christmas album for this and for all of the stuff tonight. And I still want to do my Baby Turkey, Are You Kidding Me, Baby Turkey song that I did last year with Charlie. So I think it would be a big smash seller, and I wouldn't have to listen to it Last Christmas. I'm very delighted and pleased to be playing with my buddy Mark Rosso of Champale and Maplewood and Bambikino, and of course Sea of Scarves fame. And he's also accompanying me just out of frame on the 12 string. So here's our little ditty about the wicker baby buggy. If you're feeling sad this Christmas, quarantine's got you down, barely have 2 pennies to rub together, or even someone with whom to roll around, I'll pick you up in the wicker buggy, take you for a spin downtown. Stop for a look at the pecan orchard and root like pigs for nuts on the ground. Scoop you up in the wicker buggy, rattan falling off in chunks. Ride her along to the river district and hope we make it home by dusk. Moses in a basket on a stream of rusty springs, float us home together where we'll see what Santa brings. Hop aboard the wicker buggy if you're stuck from thorns and burrs. Fit in upon the fruit cakes and rub all over Queenie's fur. Hop aboard my wicker buggy, hop aboard my wicker buggy. hop aboard my wicker buggy, wicker buggy. Yeah. Thank you.
He,
He liked it too.
it's a classic rock song.
Happy holidays. Tutu.
Fantastic.
Happy holidays, Mark. Thank you so much. That was perfect. Oh God.
Groovy.
Yeah. I'm the next performer. So I'll just start. I wrote my song for A Christmas Story. I had not read this before, but I was immediately struck with a couple things. You know, one of them, like the character of the friend, who we never know her name, but the friend, the cousin, she was I loved her attitude about life, where she would all year was Christmas, because they were preparing for Christmas all throughout the year, and it was an excuse to focus on joy, you know, in her life. So anything that gave her joy, they were put on the list for receiving fruitcake. And Truman Capote described it like it was this conspiracy or this secret that they shared all year. And I just liked that the secret was planning to give a gift, and what a wonderful secret to have, you know, all year. So there was that. And then, which is sort of what we do in Bushwick Book Club, I feel like, you know, there's like, you're making this thing and then you're going to share it and you get really excited. And then the lines between giving and receiving really blur, because it's like, okay, well, I'm, you know, giving this song out, but I'm really receiving all this pleasure, but they're receiving the song. And then, you know, well, anyway, it's like, what's the difference? I can't tell anymore. It's hard to speak English. You know, another thing about this, speaking of English, another thing about this book is that the words were so musical. I can totally understand why Henry's family would read it aloud to each other. I totally read it aloud like 4 times immediately. And after a while, it was like, oh, there's the song. It's just like in the words. And so you could just start like, this is pretty much straight from the first page. Shorn white hair, standing at the kitchen window, tennis shoes, a sweater over a calico dress, small and sprightly like a bantam hen, the face remarkable like Lincoln's, tinted by the sun and wind. And then you have to create like a little beatbox thing, or, you know, or invite Marlon. Let's hold this conspiracy, something to give, something to give. Let's hold this conspiracy, something to give. Stop stuffing biscuit, edge the buggy, help me find my hat. We've got to find those windfall pecans in the frosted deceiving grass. station for the way from driver on his way to the station for the gift of whiskey from Ha himself for the president and Mrs. Roosevelt. And now you're free as the rapping tone from the president. Free like the lost pair of kites, hurrying toward heaven. My friend, the best, the truest to know. Without you here, I can never go. Let's have this conspiracy, something to get. Yeah, let's have this conspiracy, something to get. Buddy, are you awake? I can't sleep alone. Buddy, are you awake? I can't sleep alone. No, buddy, are you awake? I can't sleep alone. Are you awake? It's fruitcake weather. Hey! Hey! And bad for like a Jehovah's Witness girl, right? Which is funny because Ray was saying that he, feels, Christmas makes him sad, and I have emotions around Christmas too, but I can't figure it out because I didn't really grow up celebrating it. So why is it making me sad? Honestly, people were like, "Oh, you're so festive today, and look at what you're wearing," and I'm like, "Yeah, actually, this is the only thing that fits right now. I've been just like way compensating, with like this holiday food. Who's here to eat it? Just me. I made popcorn for Marlon. That's good because God, the popcorn, but." It's a wrap dress. It's a wrap dress. And so this is what fits right now. So thank you very much. And this dress belonged to my mother. She was a Jehovah's Witness, but she was a very attractive woman. She's still around. She's still very attractive. And she wore this as a house dress in the 80s. Okay, you guys. Please welcome our next performer. She is the one and only, the amazing Ellia Bisker, who has also run our Zoom Tech all throughout the year as well, and started us on this track and educated all of us like so much, and still does. And fine, an amazing songwriter. She's like, how does she do it? Well, this is how. Let's welcome Ellia.
Thanks, Susan. I'm so glad to be on the non-tech side of a show. I've been running a lot of tech these days, and it's a great privilege to just be on the music making side tonight.
It's a privilege to have you here.
And I'm so glad that you assigned the Capote. I love that story, and it was really nice to revisit it. I actually ended up reading it aloud to Phil, to my husband, which is pretty tricky to get through without sobbing at the end, I will tell you. So I came very close to getting through it. And the Dylan Thomas is really wonderful too, and I love those two pieces together. They have like a kinship. I felt like there's a certain, not just nostalgia, but a certain kind of like exile feeling from this childhood country, and the things that when you're 7 or 6 seem like they've happened forever, when maybe they've only happened a few times to the adults around you, but that it's this like eternal snow or Christmas or whatever. So my song is like 90% Capote and like 10% Dylan Thomas. Specifically this line. This is from the Dylan Thomas. Auntie Hannah, who had got onto the parsnip wine, sang a song about bleeding hearts and death, and then another in which she said her heart was like a bird's nest. Never received a telegram. Ate in a restaurant. Wished someone harm. My friend is shy with everyone. Scrapbook strangers, her truest friends. My bleeding heart is like a kite. You can try to get another one. There's never two of anything. When Buddy died, she was a child. I am her buddy now. She's still a child. What we have seen, think of that shine. I could leave the world with this day in my eyes. My bleeding heart is like a bird's nest. The hummingbird that dwells within will balance on her fingertip. Courthouse bell, so cold and clear. We wait for fruitcake weather every year. The oven glows with wood and coal. Show me the way to get back home. My bleeding heart is like a rattlesnake. 16 rattles worn away, all but the bravest to escape. My bleeding heart is like a kite. You can try to get another one. There's never two of anything. There's never two of anything.
As Elliot's Face the Red, and also Charming Disaster. I think there are opportunities. Thank you, Ellia.
Thanks, Susan.
That was beautiful. I just wanted to take a breath after that song and get you ready for the next performer. This is our last live song of the night, but then we have some video contributions from the authors after. This is Charlie Nieland. Please welcome Charlie Nieland. He's a co-producer here with Bushwick Book Club. He takes care of so many different things. He's like technical director, but it's like whatever. He's Charlie. He's amazing. Please welcome Charlie Nieland.
Thank you. This was inspired by Truman's book, and this is about being in the present moment. Okay, here we go. So each day is a little gift that we receive together. I like waking up with you in every kind of weather. And watch you eat a little thing that I whip up for you, laughing at the crazy light you bring into the room. And I forgot that I could lose you in the planets and constellations. There's nothing you or I could do to stop this song or change the station. But I could leave the world with today in my eyes. Yes, I could leave the world with today in my eyes. Two birds in the same tree, inseparable together. One bird eats the fruit so sweet, the fruit of pain and pleasure. So each day is a little gift that we receive together. I like waking up with you in every kind of weather. But I forgot that I could lose you in all the planets and constellations. There's nothing you or I could do to stop this song or change the station. But I could leave the world with today in my eyes. Yes, I could leave the world with today in my eyes.
That's the stuff.
Oh.
Magic, Christmas mystery thing going. Thank you so much.
Thank
Charlie,
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
We now have readings from our amazing authors. This is Tanya Marquardt, Anne Lewinson, and Jeff VanderMeer reading Dylan Thomas's A Child's Christmas in Wales. And afterwards, we have Jesi Kelley reading one of William Melvin Kelley's stories.
One Christmas was so much like another in those years around the Seatown corner, now and out of all sound except the distant speaking of the voices I sometimes hear a moment before sleep here in prison, that I can never remember whether it snowed for 6 days and 6 nights when I was 12, or whether it snowed for 12 days and 12 nights when I was 6. All the Christmases roll down toward the two-tongued sea like a cold and headlong moon bundling down the sky that was our street, and they stop at the rim of the ice-edged, fish-freezing waves, and I plunge my hands in the snow and bring out whatever I can find. In goes my hand into that wool-white, bell-tongued ball of holidays resting at the rim of the carol-singing sea, and out come Mrs. Prothero and the firemen. It was the afternoon of the Christmas Eve, and I was in Mrs. Prothero's garden, waiting for cats like a psychopath with her son Jim. It was snowing. It was always snowing at Christmas. December in my memory is white as Lapland.
It was snowing. It was always snowing at Christmas. December in my memory was as white as Lapland, though there were no reindeer. There were cats. Patient, cold, and callous, our hands wrapped in socks, we waited to snowball the cats. Sleek and long as jaguars and horrible whiskered, spitting and snarling, they would slink and sidle over the white back garden walls, and the lynx-eyed hunters, Jim and I, fur-capped and moccasin trappers from Hudson Bay off Mumbles Road, would hurl our deadly snowballs at the green of their eyes.
The wise cats never appeared. We were so still, Arctic marksmen in the muffling silence of the eternal snows, eternal ever since Wednesday, that we never heard Mrs. Prothero's first cry from her igloo at the bottom of the garden, or if we heard it at all, it was to us like the far-off challenge of our enemy and prey, the neighbor's polar cat. But soon the voice grew louder.
"Fire!" cried Mrs. Prothero, and she beat the dinner gong.
And we ran down the garden with the snowballs in our arms toward the house. And smoke indeed was pouring out of the dining room, and the gong was bombulating. And Mrs. Prothero was announcing ruin-like a town crier in Pompeii. This was better than all the cats in Wales standing on the wall in a row. We bounded into the house, laden with snowballs, and stopped at the open door of the smoke-filled room. Something was burning, all right. Perhaps it was Mr. Prothero, who always slept there after midday dinner with a newspaper over his face. But he was standing in the middle of the room saying, "A fine Christmas," and smacking at the smoke with a slipper. "Call the fire brigade," cried Miss Prothero as she beat the gong. "There won't be there," said Mr. Prothero. "It's Christmas." There was no fire to be seen, only clouds of smoke, and Mr. Prothero was standing in the middle of them, waving his slipper as though he were conducting. "Do something," he said, and threw all our snowballs into the smoke. I think we missed Mr. Prothero and ran out of the house to the telephone box. "Let's call the police as well," Jim said, "and the ambulance. And Ernie Jenkins, he likes fires." But we only called the fire brigade, and soon the fire engine came, and 3 tall men in helmets brought a hose into the house, and Mr. Prothero got out just in time before they turned it on. Nobody could have had a noisier Christmas Eve. And when the firemen turned off the hose and were standing in the wet, smoky room, Jim's aunt, Miss Prothero, came down and peered in at them. Jim and I waited very quietly to hear what she would say to them. She said the right thing, always. She looked at the 3 tall firemen in their shining helmets, standing among the smoke and cinders and dissolving snowballs, and she said, "Would you like anything to read?"
But here, a small boy says, "It snowed last year, too. I made a snowman, and my brother knocked it down, and I knocked my brother down, and then we had tea." But that was not the same snow, I say. Our snow was not only shaken from whitewashed buckets down the sky, it came shawling out of the ground and swam and drifted out of the arms and hands and bodies of the trees. Snow grew overnight on the roofs of the houses like a pure and grandfather moss, minutely white-ivied the walls and settled on the postman, opening the gate like a dumb, numb thunderstorm of white, torn Christmas cards.
Go on to the useless presents. Bags of moist and many-colored jelly babies and a folded flag and a false nose and a tram conductor's cap and a maggot machine that punched tickets and rang a bell. Never a catapult. Once by mistake that no one could explain, a little hatchet, and a celluloid wounded duck that made, when you pressed it, a most unduck-like sound, a mewing moo that ambitious cat might make who wished to be a cow, and a painting book in which I could make the grass, the trees, the sea, and the animals any color I please. And still the dazzling sky blue sheep are grazing in the red field under the rainbow-billed and pea-green birds. Hard-boileds, toffee, fudge, and all sorts, crunches, cracknels, humbugs, glaciers, marzipan, and butter Welsh for the Welsh. And troops of bright tin soldiers who, if they could not fight, could always run. And snakes and families and happy ladders and easy hobby games for little engineers, complete with instructions. Oh, easy for Leonardo. And a whistle to make the dogs bark, to wake up the old man next door, to make him beat on the wall with his stick, to shake our picture off the wall. And a packet of cigarettes, you put one in your mouth, and you stood at the corner of the street, and you waited for hours in vain for an old lady to scold you for smoking a cigarette. And then with a smirk you ate it. And then it was breakfast under the balloons. And that was 2020.
Bravo. Bravo.
I'm Jesi, and today I'm going to read an excerpt from a story that my dad wrote, William Melvin Kelley, called Christmas with the Great Man. It is from the collection of his short stories, Dances on the Shore, which the Bushwick Book Club featured earlier in the year. In this story, it's about Peter Dunford, who is Chick Dunford's younger brother. Peter is also away in college, and he can't come home for the holidays. He decides to stay at school and finish some work, but he gets invited to dinner with a friend of his whose grandfather is a founder of an organization that's similar to the NAACP. So Peter is actually very excited to go to this dinner, but when he gets there, he, as usual with family dynamics over dinner, he finds that the daughter, which is his friend Willard's mother, who is the daughter of the great man, kind of treats him like a baby, and sort of diminishes this man's worth in Peter's eyes, and he's a little disappointed. So I'm picking up the story toward the end where Peter is getting ready to leave. So dinner is over, there's been family conversation, the old man has been escorted upstairs and put to bed. And so this is Peter about to leave. After a decent time had passed and they were once again in the living room, he told Willard he would have to leave. I'd like to stick around, but Ben Johnson calls. He held up one finger. Willard got up and came over to him. Let me get your coat. No, sit down. I know where it is. He whispered now. Besides, I have to make a trip. He did not want to talk to Willard now. Okay. Willard went back to his seat. Peter climbed the carpeted steps to the second floor. A door was open on his right. At the head of the steps, a light marking off a square of the wine-red carpet. That must be the old man's room. Willard's room was far back on the left. Peter tiptoed past the door and got his coat, adjusted his tie in front of the mirror, and started downstairs. As he approached the old man's room, he noticed the door was open a bit wider. Hey, the grumble came from inside. At first, Peter tried to pretend to himself he had not heard, but his conscience forced him back to the room. Mr. Robbins? He did not look in. Who's that? Peter Dunford. I'm Willard's schoolmate. Will you get me some tissues from the bathroom, Dunford? Yes, sir. The bathroom was next to Willard's room. On his way back, he realized with distaste that he would have to enter the old man's room to give him the tissues. At the door, he built his courage, then almost charged inside. The old man was sitting up in bed, a book of Dylan Thomas poems 4 inches from his nose. When he lowered the book, his mouth was twisted into what seemed a smile. Thank you, Dunford. Peter handed him the tissues. He realized he could not stare at the book without saying something. Do you like him? He pointed to the book, now in the old man's lap. The old man nodded. I saw him when he was here in March, '52. He paused. Sorry you didn't have a good time. Sir? He listened to the blankness of his own voice. Downstairs. You were miserable. Sorry. Don't hold it against her. He closed his eyes. Surely the old man could not know how much Peter had resented Mrs. Jackson. You wanted to talk to me about the old days. Yes, sir, I did. The old man shook his head. What's the use? The past's a young man, the present's an old one. I guess he'd say I'm not raging enough. He tapped the book. Besides, it's her innings. Sir? Peter had come forward, so his knees were touching the bed. It's her innings. Maybe I kept her too close. She was 32 when she got married. So now it's her innings and I get babied. Isn't anything to me, and it gives her some revenge. I can't cut my food or walk without help anyway. He looked up at Peter now. Thank you again for the tissues. Hope to see you again. Good night, sir. Peter backed from the room. Willard had just started up the stairs. I thought you got lost. No, nothing like that. He thought about telling Willard what had happened, but decided against it. It was not really Willard's business. So, thank you, Bushwick Book Club, for everything this year. To all watching, I hope you had a very happy holiday season, and here's to a much better 2021.
Thank you, Jesi Kelley. And on their cameras now. This is the time when we hug the author, or we group hug the author. We will just say, we'll hug each other, and we'll say, see you back to 2020. That's what we'll do, and we'll say thank you, everybody. Thank you to all the artists for making songs about books, and for doing it, and for just being here, and also for all the authors, and thanks for reading and writing, and we'll do more as we go along. I can't, that seems like the thing to do. Okay, this is it. Bye bye 2020. Bye bye. Bye bye.
Yeah.
Good riddance.
Let the screen dog. Yeah. Get the hell out.
Weston, thank you guys for watching the show. Thanks all right. Good night. Good night, everybody. Bye. Bye. 2020. Hello, 2021.